morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you all. Here we are with our next installment of Reality Bites. We're still talking about the life of David, but today we're talking about stones and swords. Last today we talked about cheese and courage. Today, stones and swords. We're talking from 1 Samuel chapter 17, the 40th through the 51st verse. Again, I'm talking through this, I'm not able to read everything. We are pressed for time, 5 minutes. Well, the last meeting was 17 minutes, but today we're going to do 5 minutes. We're going to keep it there. So while you're not here, while you are here listening, you can read along with me and kind of follow what we're talking about. Here we have David just finished arguing with Saul about not taking his armor, and because he had not tested it before, so we learned about how we need to go and how God's plan for us to move, God's plan for us to do things tailored to our own situation. But the next verse can be pretty public if you ask me. David goes and he picks up 5 smooth stones to go against Goliath. But watch this, this is the very first important point we have to learn against facing our giants, facing our opposition and our obstacles. The first thing we learn is wherever we go, it's God's grace and God's favor that leads the way. Say that, it's God's grace and God's favor that leads the way for us to be able to do the impossible when we conquer our giants and our Goliaths. Why do I say God's grace and God's favor? Because David picked up 5 smooth stones. There's a lot of implication from biblical scholars as to what those 5 stones were for. Some of them say one was for Goliath and the other ones were for his brothers. But I would just keep it simple today in the terms of Bible numerology, or what numbers signify in the Bible. 5 is God's number, or the biblical number of grace. And so here we are dealing with God's grace and favor upon our lives as we go forward and go against obstacles and insurmountable things that we don't think we can conquer in any other means. So here we are in our own situation, as just like David, where we, you and I, who face impossible odds against God's grace and favor that has to go with us. Remember that you're really going to need to pick up your own 5 smooth stones for your job interview, for your relationship challenges, for whatever for a bully, whatever it is that you're going against. It's the 5 smooth stones, God's grace and God's favor, that need to lead the way and be the deciding outcome of what you're dealing with. So now we're going out here, and Goliath sees David with this slingshot, and he says, "You come to me with sticks and stones and all these different things like I'm a dog, and we're gonna play fetch. You insult me. You sent out of all your army, you sent out this one little boy to come with sticks and stones, and I'm a giant, I'm a champion." So he underestimated what David could and would do, as do your competitors, as do your adversaries, as does the devil when he tries to put things against you and against your family, against your children. Any assignment that he tries to put against you, he underestimates who you are because of what you have. And don't let anybody, devil, an enemy, somebody at your job, whatever it is, don't let anybody underestimate who you are and what you can do because of what you have. That's what God does. He does that in the most excellent kind of way, where you may look like you don't have it all together, look like you don't have what it needs to take it. And that's what surprises the world, it surprises the enemy, is that you end up victorious 9 times out of 9, 10 times out of 10. Every battle you end up victorious in, because you were underestimated. It's an underestimated person that takes the bigger person by surprise. That's what God is doing with you and with me, as we go ahead with 5 smooth stones of grace and favor. So this is something very important that I want you to see also before we leave out of here today, that David began to speak to Goliath. As he's running out to the battle, he says, "I'm going to cut your head off. I'm going to feed it to the ravens, to the vultures, to the birds." Everything he was going to do, he spoke it before he did it. So not only God's grace and favor has to go before us, but you need to learn how to speak and talk to and talk about and have forward speech. Not present speech, not past speech, but forward speech about what you're going to do, what's going to happen, the outcome that's going to come from what God does in your life. Many times we want to do stuff, but it never amounts to anything. It never does anything because we're not speaking about it. We have to speak, and what we're speaking is we talk about the Bible word for confess. Confess is the word homologeo, which homo is saying, logeo, logos, word. We have to speak the same word that God says about us. Head, not the tail. Above, not beneath. More than a conqueror. David was confessing what God's word said about what he would do, about how God would act and how God would present himself. please, when you go against opposition and obstacles, begin to say something, because what you're saying now is not working. You're speaking death. You're speaking negativity. Speak positive words of life. Speak what God says about the situation. And here's the big thing. When you speak it, activity has to follow. When you say something, you're going to be prompted to begin to move on it. Listen, I was reading a blog yesterday. I'm going to end here. Reading a blog by a talented writer and blogger by the name of Jeff Goins. You can look him up on Tribe Writers. Look him up. Just Google him, Jeff Goins. And he wrote a particular thing about being a writer. He said before you became a writer, one thing you need to do, and a myriad of things, one thing you need to do is begin to identify yourself, call yourself a writer. He said when he began to call himself a writer, speak himself a writer, he began to do what writers do. What's that? Write. So the words preceded the action. Once he began to call himself a writer, he had no other recourse but to begin to write, or he would be lying about what he said. So when you go into opposition, when you go into whatever it is you're going to, begin to speak about it. Talk ahead of where you are. Talk to where you're going. And that talking will begin to prompt action. And so we find out the Bible says that when David talked and said these things to Goliath, then he ran out to begin to fight him. And many of you all know how the story ended. He swung the stone from the slingshot, hit a dead center in the head. He fell to the ground. He took the sword, cut his head off. The birds came to eat his carcass, and that is what we find. Speaking God's grace and favor. So as we end up here with stones and swords, we have 2 points we leave with. Go with God's grace and favor and speak to where you're going. Listen, I'm done for today. I'll see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. I love you. Bye-bye.